Hello everyone, and welcome to your second lesson about gold. The first recorded discovery of gold was to have been found on the banks of Witwatersrand by Jan Gerard Baantjes in June 1886, a defining moment in South African history. Gold, more so than diamonds, revolutionized South Africa from an agricultural society to become the largest gold producer in the world. Later, more gold mines were discovered further south and east of South Africa, extending for miles. In South Africa, we would say kilometers, underground, resulting in an endless treasure of gold. Gold mining very quickly became the largest and most important part of the South African economy. Witwatersrand, also called the Rand, is a ridge of gold-bearing rock mostly in the Gauteng province of South Africa. Its name means Ridge of White Waters. The highland, which forms the watershed between the Vaal and Limpopo rivers, is about 100 kilometers long and 37 kilometers wide. Its average elevation is about 1,700 meters above sea level. Its rich gold deposits, occurring in conglomerate rocks, beds known as reefs, were discovered in 1886. A heavy in-migration of miners followed, and the city of Johannesburg grew near the center of Witwatersrand. The focus was no longer just diamonds. Everyone wanted a piece of gold. On this slide is a map of South Africa. You can see the different provinces and some of the main cities. If you look on the map, you will see there is a section that is colored in brown. That is to show you the size of the Witwatersrand Basin. The Witwatersrand Basin is where all the gold riverbeds were. So you can actually see how it goes across a couple of provinces and how numerous people back in the day would have claimed it belonged to their colony, especially between the British and the Dutch. Why was the Rand such a gold success? On the 14th of September 1886, the first large mining company on the reef, the Witwatersrand Gold Mining Company, was formed. The reef extended not only to the east and west, but also downwards with persisting values of ore. There were numerous reasons that gold mining was deemed easier in this area. Some of these reasons were the Rand's climatic conditions, meaning that the weather was conducive for mining. The ore was rich and located close to the surface. This made initial operations highly profitable and enabled further in-depth exploration of the reef to be self-financing. So what this means is, in the beginning, the gold was closer to the surface, so it was easier for the miners to find it. Then with the money they made from that gold, they were able to do further in-depth exploration. They were able to finance it themselves in order to find more gold. Mine personnel and technical expertise were available from the Kimberley diamond mines, as well as the gold fields of Australia and North America. So we already had people in the country who were doing the mining of diamonds, and so they could use that knowledge to help them with the mining of gold. South Africa also had the availability of unskilled labor.
Gold is one of the softest and most malleable of the metals. It can be pressed extremely thin, crafted into shapes, even drawn out to form a fine wire, and all without breaking. Gold isn't affected by water or oxygen, as many metals are, so it doesn't rust or tarnish either. Most gold comes from lode deposits, also called vein deposits, concentrations of gold and other metals in the cracks of rocks. Lode deposits require hard rock mining, the process of removing gold-bearing rock called ore by drilling and blasting. Miners descend more than half a kilometre underground. There they drill holes for explosives using what's called a long-hole air drill. They drill in a specific pattern, set out in a plan prepared by the mine's engineers. The engineers know exactly where those veins of gold are, thanks to the mining company's geologists who've studied the ore samples. The company collects these samples by drilling deep into the rock at 15-metre intervals. These diamond drill cores, as they're called, are up to 100 metres long and measure 3.5 centimetres in diameter. Gold in its natural state isn't pure. It's usually intertwined with silver or other metals. So the mined ore has to be processed afterward to isolate and extract the gold. A metric ton of ore yields only about 6.5 grams of gold. After blasting the rock apart with explosives, miners use what's called a muck machine to transfer the ore to cars headed to the main shaft and then above ground to the mill. There, a crusher reduces the large chunks into smaller rocks the size of gravel. A mill then pulverizes them to the texture of beach sand. The factory adds a water and cyanide solution. Then another mill grinds it further into a mud-like pulp. This pulp flows into large settling tanks. The wet solids, being heavier, sink to the bottom. The water at the top drains to another area. Workers transfer the wet solids to an agitation tank and blow in air. The oxygen sets off a chemical reaction between the cyanide and the gold trapped in the ore, triggering the gold to dissolve and leach into the surrounding water. Drum filters then separate the water from the solids. This water now joins the water that was separated earlier. Zinc powder is added to solidify the dissolved gold. To smelt into bars, a chemical cocktail needs to be prepared. Manganese dioxide, fluoride, silica flour, borax, and sodium nitrate. This mix, called flux, will separate the gold from the impurities. It's poured into the smelter, whose temperature is at 1,600 degrees Celsius. The smelter is rotated so that the contents heat evenly. Over 2.5 hours, the heavier gold eventually sinks to the bottom, while the impurities, called slag, float to the surface. The slag is poured out. A sample is taken to ensure it contains no gold. If it does, it goes back in until it's gold-free. By now, the gold has cooled slightly, so they reheat to 1,600 degrees Celsius, then cast it into bar-shaped molds. The gold takes about 4 minutes to solidify, then another hour to cool completely in a basin of cold water. The gold bars are extracted from the molds and cleaned of any slag residue. Gold bars are also called ingots. At this stage, the gold is 80% pure. The mint will then refine the gold to 99.9% purity, the international gold standard.
The next couple of slides are going to give you a brief explanation on how gold is mined in South Africa. Please take the time to pause each slide, allowing you to read the information provided. For assessment purposes, you will not need to discuss the gold mining cycle in great detail, but you should know what the 12 steps are and have an understanding of what it means. So you need to look at each slide, pause the video, read the information, and make your notes as you go along. Otherwise, go through each slide now and then later when you re-watch the video, make your notes from the gold mining life cycle. Have you ever heard of the South African Krugerrand? Have you ever been in a shopping center and seen these shops called skoin that sell the Krugerrand? Watch the next two videos to find out just how important gold is to the South African economy.
The South African gold Krugerrand remains one of the most important bullion coins of the last 50 years. Struck by the South African Mint, the 1-ounce gold Krugerrand is considered the first modern gold coin for the everyday buyer. The South African gold Krugerrand bears no denomination. The 1-ounce gold coin is marked only with its weight in gold, yet it is so well known that it is easily recognized around the world. Composed by Otto Schultz, the obverse of the coin bears a portrait of Paul Kruger, the former South African president and war figure, while the reverse brings to life a galloping springbok, South Africa's national animal. So important is the South African gold Krugerrand that the modern history of gold cannot be told without it. It is considered the original modern bullion coin, first issued by the South African Mint in 1967 and accounting for 90% of the global gold coin market by 1980. As a tangible form of wealth recognized around the world, the South African gold Krugerrand offers an exceptional level of financial liquidity and portability. In a world of changing financial markets, the South African gold Krugerrand represents a degree of consistency. The year of issue is varied. Denomination is not applicable. Condition: brilliant uncirculated. Metal content: 1 troy ounce, 0.916722 karat gold. Mint mark not shown, but South African mint. Diameter: 32.77 millimeter. Thickness: 2.84 millimeter. Obverse designer: Otto Schultz. Reverse designer: Coert Steinberg.